morning, everyone. Welcome to the hybrid edition of the Bodybuilding.com podcast. Nick Coleus, an editor for Bodybuilding.com, and here's science chick Kris Gethin over here as well. And we're caged in here with a wild animal, master of pain himself, Kris Gethin. If you are on our site on a regular basis, you may know that he recently released an 8-week hardcore training program, the latest of many, but that's far from all this guy is doing these days. You're also training for an Ironman, and some of the people who are fans of yours might say, training for an Ironman, there's nothing hardcore about that. What about the gains, Kris?
It's hardcore.
Yeah.
It's hardcore. It's taken me by surprise, actually. I have got a lot of respect for that process. It is tough. It's a wake-up call. It's like every injury that you kind of sealed and put away over the last 20 years are all starting to come back and letting themselves be known.
So what's on the menu for today, for example?
I've already eaten my activity this morning. So I woke up and hit about an hour and 15 in the gym. We did shoulders, triceps, abs, and then got into the pool, which wasn't that long today, thank God. It was 1,100 meters, but a lot of technical drills.
Yeah, I've been watching the videos. It seems like there's a lot of drills that go on in particular for mastering that freestyle stroke.
Extremely frustrating, because you think, I really want to work on my fitness, but apparently the swim is like 60% technique. So I've really got to get that down. As soon as I turn on my sides, I had to do a lot of hand lead side kicks today. I just sink like a rock. So I need to somehow figure that one out.
All right, so let's back it up a little bit, though. Do you remember the moment that this goal came to you? The goal of, what is the goal?
The goal is to, at the very least, not lose any muscle. I want to try to gain muscle during this process. So I am filming something along the lines of like a hybrid of the muscle building trainer, various exercises that are definitely reserved specifically for Ironman training. However, we'll put on muscle at the same time, and within 6 months complete an Ironman. 2 years is the general consensus that you need to prepare for an Ironman for the average person. And I'm far from average. I'm probably in a more of a deficit with the amount of muscle, the amount of oxygen I need, the amount of calories I need, trying to keep my body core temperature down. And so that's a process, I figured, I'll suck at this. Let's go. Let's do it.
It was just time to suck at something?
Yeah. I just want the challenge. I want a sidestep. And, I believe that bodybuilders should be able to perform. They should be healthy. They should be able to function. So someone's got to do it, I guess. Let's go for this.
But why an Ironman? Why not just like a ultra marathon? Because a lot of people don't even know what an Ironman is.
Ironman, it's something that I thought, that when I heard about the distances, because I didn't really know much about it, I thought, isn't that reserved for an automobile or something like that? A human does that in a day, yeah.
In a day.
Yeah, so you have a 17-hour cutoff to get like a 2.4-mile swim done, and then you have a 112-mile bike ride, and then you have a full marathon at the end of that. And I'm the kind of person that needs some sort of distraction. If I think too much, it makes me think too much. And if I do one sort of sport, I get a little bit bored. It's like I don't read one book. I have to read 5 or 6 books at the same time. And for that reason, I couldn't do like a marathon by itself or prepare for a bike race by itself. This combination mixed with bodybuilding is perfect. I'm always thinking about something else and trying to improve at that discipline without getting injured, because I'm sure if I just kept running every day for a huge amount of time and at length, then I'd probably get injured, or the likelihood is increased. So I can kind of improve my strength in all of these disciplines.
So now your supplement company, Caged Muscle, has sponsored an Ironman athlete, right?
Matthew Pritchard, yeah.
Is that how this came on your radar, this particular goal, or was this?
Well, Matthew, he's a different kind of cat. So he was a star of a TV show called Dirty Sanchez, which is much like, what's the TV? Jackass,
right.
But worse in Wales. And he he decided to do something for charity once where he was dressed in a full fireman's uniform and he was on a treadmill in a supermarket. And he just kept going until he pretty much collapsed. So he had the mental tenacity to do it. And so he just started doing Ironman, and he then continued to do other challenges like 30 half Ironmen in 30 days. Then he did a triple brutal, which is 3 Ironmen, pretty much continuous over 3 days.
I think that's the video I watched. It's brutal.
He's unbelievable. So he uses my the Cage Muscle supplements, and when I was there last time, he was showing me on his Strava, since I've taken in cage and I'm increasing my fluid, these are the times on the sprints on the hills, and they had dramatically increased. And I'd thought about it at that time. I've been pondering on this for about a year. And just having friends, it's strange. There's friends that I used to just party with when I was younger in Wales. 2 of them are now doing Ironman as well. And there was like 3 of us in this group. It's like, wow, now I'm joining that group. Maybe it's something that, I don't know.
Water.
Yeah, exactly. So that seed has just kind of grown from various areas. But I did have it in my head when I was pondering this a year ago. Okay, I don't mind losing all my muscle. I'll just go on a vegetarian diet. I've done it before, and it'll come back. That's fine. It'll help because I don't have to worry about carrying this weight. I don't have to worry about my knees.
Weight vest.
Yeah, exactly. But then I thought, well, but that's what other people do. I need to do something that's a little bit different. I want to try to do this. And, I don't want to lose my following, and the majority of my following are bodybuilders. And I thought, well, let's see if I can open an opportunity to other bodybuilders, because it's something that no one really thinks about. And I know some people that have done triathlon before, and they've come over to bodybuilding, and they go, oh, I can't go back to that now. Because it's going to, this muscle is going to be a hindrance. So I want to show that if done correctly and not doing the amount of hours that a triathlete typically does to get ready for a triathlon, through various forms of intensity that us bodybuilders have learned to adapt, transferring that into an endurance realm so where I can kind of cross that bridge. I think I'm going to prove that it can be done.
So how much of your coaching is your coaching or that you're creating? Obviously, I would think that your hypertrophy workouts or your bodybuilding workouts are based on what you know in your experience versus you have to have a coach for swimming and cycling. And so how do you mesh those together? And how did you find a coach that was willing to be okay with, okay, you can do this on your own.
In 6 months.
Well, right. I mean, and that the coach is okay with you doing some things on your own or having, your own idea of what you want to accomplish out of this.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So I'd done a lot of research beforehand because I thought, well, I am going into the unknown here. And I'd spoken to a few people like Dave Scott, 6 times Ironman world champion, had some great conversations with him. But then I realized, after reading a lot of the magazines and going on websites and listening to these people, I thought, I can't really do what those guys are kind of telling me. It just wouldn't make sense for my body. My body couldn't do that. It wouldn't do that. And the amount of food that I have to carry with me when I'm on a bike, for instance, is unbelievable.
In a podcast.
Yeah, because I get lightheaded now. So if I go out on a bike ride for about an hour, I have a massive feed and think, that'll do me. But 45 minutes later, I'm getting hungry. And I think, nah, that can't be right. 15 minutes after that, I'm getting lightheaded. There's various things that I know that I have to do very much differently. I have to strengthen my core a lot. Running in that position for somebody with a heavier upper body that's just not used to this, your core collapses, your diaphragm collapses, and you're not going to finish, or you're going to struggle. You're not getting the oxygen in. So there's different ways. And then, so I'd done a lot of research, and I happened to stumble across a guy called Ross Edgley, who's quite a muscular gentleman who had done something called a triathlon, which for charity, he had like the weight of a 70-pound branch or something on his back, and did like a half Ironman. And he's a built guy from the UK, and I'd been having some conversations with him, and through a couple of conversations, Alex Viada came up in conversation.
We both read his book
Hybrid
as well.
Athlete.
Yeah, that's right. And I took one look at this guy, and I thought, this guy's a freak. He does ultra marathons. He does Ironman. He does powerlifting. He does strongman. This guy's 230 pounds. and he's pretty lean, and he's proven that he can do this. So I contacted him, had some real great in-depth conversations, realizing that health is definitely the priority for both of us. And we really connected on that. And, how we try to live within our environments a little bit differently to the general bodybuilder who, looks at themselves as a vanity project over, something that's health driven. And then, I told him what I wanted to do and asked him if he would come on and help. And he was delighted to. So that made it a little bit easier. So I put my entire trust in him because here's somebody I can relate to now. Maybe not so much from the injury front, because I've had a lot of injuries over the years before I even got into bodybuilding. And like I said, they kind of surface themselves now. So I have to train accordingly based on what my brain and my body is telling me. But I have an outline from him, specifically in these 3 disciplines that I'll generally follow. This week was a low volume week. That was mentally very difficult for me to kind of pull back. So it was good to have Alex there to say, you got to trust this process and not push it too far. Now it's going to be easy for a week, and that my wiring wasn't really, hadn't figured anything like that out before. So in that respect, it really helps. But with the weight training, he's absolutely fine with me taking that over. He did have his team put together some suggestions. I was like, no, that doesn't work for me. I don't do 5 reps,
Is there any Bosu ball involved? That's the class.
I'm putting all that in. I'm putting a lot of different types of training in that I know my followers are going to really beat me up about. But I know, I have to work on my knee tracking, my ankle stability. I've torn the tendons in my ankles. I don't know how many times, broken my ankles, very skinny ankles. So I'm doing a lot of heavy work, heavy back work on a Bosu ball. I'm doing a lot of aero mat work. And there's a lot of things that I have to think about now in order to allow bodybuilding to complement this process instead of take away from it.
Yeah, it was interesting hearing you talk about finding that sweet spot of intensity versus being able to pull back too, because I've only watched the first couple of weeks of this so far. And I think it's in week 1, I was looking at the program and it says things like, take your bike out for a stroll. This is an easy run.
That's what
and then I watched the video and it said, and you're saying, this was supposed to be an easy day. It's not. This was supposed to be an easy day. It's not. So yeah, that's got to be a learning process for you, just bringing it back. But you are a twice a day or once a day cardio guy, right? So did that prepare you at all?
Definitely, because I love doing cardio a couple of times a day just for health purposes. Because I want to make sure that I am still mobile, and I know if I have a better blood flow around my body, I tend to recover a lot easier, and I can train a lot more often. And for me, weight training is therapy more than anything. Whenever I have to take a day off, I think, okay, I'll probably become a hermit today because I'm not going to be a good person to be around. It's definitely therapeutic, so I don't have to find the motivation to do it. It's a necessity for me. This is just a different type of intensity. Now my asthma that I haven't had for several years now has come back because I'm pushing it. So I do enjoy that challenge, but the main priority for me whilst I'm getting ready for this is just staying injury-free, because mentally I've already crossed the line. I'm absolutely fine. I just need this carcass of mine to keep up.
Do you find that the total time expenditure in your training is dramatically up from what it was when you were just focused more on lifting and that?
No, during the week it's pretty much the same. It's very similar. The only difference during the week is that I tap both my cardio sessions together the majority of the time, because the way I think about it, I'm doing an Ironman, and it's not as if you take a day off in between. It has to be back to back. So even though the viewer does have the option to say do bike in the morning and run in the evening, majority of the time I'll just get up very early, do my weight training, do my bike, do my run, all in one session.
Okay.
So that's the only difference. And on the weekend, that's when the high volume comes in. So like last weekend, I went out for like a 50-mile bike ride. I'm up to 50 miles now. So that took me like 3 hours, 14 minutes. And then I'd follow that up with a 30-minute run, so like 3 miles. So the weekends is where it's changing, because you have to become comfortable being uncomfortable. You know, as much as the intensity will help with the fitness, it's like, okay, how much fuel is my body going to use? So I can calculate exactly how many calories I'll need on race day so I don't start bonking, you know, as they call it. And the same goes for, you know, being on a saddle or getting chafed. You know, when I'm running, I have to get used to, you know, that uncomfortability.
Well, when you speak of that, how do you know, because you also talk about staying injury-free, and you're doing some new things, and how do you know, and is it just because you know your body so well, what's uncomfortable versus what's potentially leading to an injury on some of these newer things that I'm doing? I'm a cyclist, and I do long-distance cycling. And
we should go.
Yeah, I would love to.
Well,
actually, you've been to, I used to, there's a few subclasses, or spin classes I've subbed. I've seen you in there a few months ago at Axiom, so I'd love to be out there on the road with you. But there's some things like you get, you know, upper back gets a little sore, lower back gets a little sore, butt gets sore, yada, yada, yada. I mean, that's just, it's uncomfortable, and you ride for a little bit and it goes away. Versus you could have, you know, a nagging knee injury, and you keep doing that, and you could have some serious arthritis in your knee or something that's more severe when you compound that by doing 50 miles week after week after week. How do you know? And I get that all the time. When is it an injury? When is it just uncomfortable?
I guess if this is how I play it, because sometimes after I've done my run, you know, like I'm over 220 pounds or around 220 pounds, you know, my knees hurt, you know, especially if I'm running on the cement. They hurt, but the thing is, the pain will generally go away after, you know, an hour or so. So I think, okay, it's just normal ache and pain. It's not there 24, 2 days, 3 days later.
Right.
So that's how I kind of distinguish it. I've had a real problem, like I'm taped up here with some rock tape. I've had a very bad problem with my groin injury that I had in November of last year in CrossFit, going very, very light. And I just squatted down way too fast at a very wide stance, and I pulled something in my groin. And it didn't really bother me at all. I was able to continue to train, no problem. But since I've been doing this, like as of 5 weeks ago, it's reoccurred, and I don't have the opportunity to give it a rest. So I went really hard with, aggressive with my rehab this week, because it was low volume. But that's an injury that I know is tough, because I was in Toronto last weekend and I did my cardio indoors the entire time last weekend, even though it was like 3 hours on a bike. I did 3 hours indoors on a bike because I had a very busy filming schedule there, and I couldn't really go biking around the middle of Toronto. And on the flight back, I was just in pain the entire flight back. So that's when I realized I really have to get extremely aggressive with this recovery, because the only thing that's going to help, I think, is low volume and some rest, and be a little bit more mindful with the speed I'm running at. You know, no drills or anything like that. Just keep my fitness. So one of the things that I'm going to start doing now is aqua running. So I'll get like one of those aqua belts, a flotation belt, and even though that's going to be boring, it'll at least allow me to keep that action, get that neuromuscular function, and keep that run fitness up. You know, I've read some studies, and a lot of runners who have had problems, they do aqua running, and they don't really lose that much run fitness. So that's something that I'm probably going to have to begin
That's
including.
interesting. Yeah, the running is a bit of a sticking point for a lot of people, I feel like. Like, there are plenty of people who lift and ride a bike, lift and do some swimming, but it seems like runners and lifters can sometimes be these opposing camps these days. What's your running history like?
None. I don't have any history in any of these things. None whatsoever. I'm learning to do all three. It's funny because there's a gentleman in town here who wrote a book called The Heart of Running, and that book was fascinating. Where, you know, we're all assumed we know how to walk. We're all assumed that we know how to run, but nobody's taught us how to do it correctly, and we're all doing it wrong. And that's a reason why a lot of people get injured. You know, you don't really, you know, like when people think about triathlons, everyone says, oh, the swim. The swim's going to be the struggle for me. I don't think about that, even though it'll be a struggle. I'm not going to get injured swimming, touch wood. I'm probably not going to get injured on the bike unless somebody hits me.
Right.
It's going to be the run, and that's because a lot of the time we don't know how to run correctly. So I'm being very mindful of, I don't go out with headphones, because I don't want to be distracted on how I'm running, making sure that I have a very fast cadence of about 188, 190. So it's almost comical with my short legs.
Okay, that's a pretty fast cadence, yeah.
Yeah, just to take away as much stress from here. I'm just trying to think of like being a wheel at the moment, keeping my upper body as still as possible and making sure that I get that forefoot strike. So when I'm doing any treadmill work now, I've got a curved treadmill in my garage there, so that's forcing me to forefoot strike as well. So if I do any work in there, generally I'll have like weights vest on. I put my ankle weights on my wrists and, use that as a higher intensity and fast cadence to get my heart rate up quick so I don't have to go out for hours on end. And because I think it's that repetitive strain that will get me personally for hours as opposed to short intervals.
What's the location? What's the race here that you're preparing for?
It's in Coeur d'Alene. I'm doing a half Ironman with my girlfriend. She is doing this process with me. She's going to do the half Ironman with me in, I think it's June 25th, 26th. And then I will continue and go on for the full Ironman, which is in August in Coeur d'Alene as well.
Oh, okay. Okay, so is it a hilly sort of course up there?
So if you look at which are the hardest ones in the US, they have like the red area, they have the green area, and they have the yellow. So Coeur d'Alene's in the red.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's starting off easy.
Yeah.
And that's some cold water generally up there, too.
In June, it probably will be. But come August, it's supposed to be an extremely hot Ironman. And that's obviously a concern for me because my core temperature is much higher than the average person. So for me to try and stay hydrated and not cramp is going to be difficult. And it's a hilly course. So I'm okay when I'm running on a flat. The second that I hit a hill, it really tires me out because
Hill
I'm pushing.
you.
I'm pushing more weight and more oxygen requirements.
So how has your nutrition changed during workouts? Because for resistance training or hypertrophy training, it's weight training, I should just say. It's pretty easy. If you want to eat something, if you want to drink something, it's pretty easy to do. Swimming, not so much. Like you could drink something at the end of the wall. Cycling, pretty easy to do. Running, I can't do anything. My stomach turns upside down. Like it's just, you have to be so smart about that. And I don't think people give it much consideration. I'm interested to hear.
I'm thinking about it right now for those dates, exactly what I'm going to eat because, the last thing I want to do is run out of fuel. So what I'll use is like an attitude test. And Kenny taught me about this and it's worked well. So your attitude will change probably about 20 minutes before you'll get any physical depletion. So your brain depletion of glycogen. So for instance, if I'm out riding a bike and someone gets close to me and I'm getting pissed off and I throw them the finger, I'm wondering, is it that person or am I just getting a bit low on glycogen now? And chances are it's me. So I'll pull over then and I'll make sure that I eat and I fuel up. And, within 20, 30 minutes, I'm good again. I feel a lot better. So I use that as a kind of my soundboard, so to speak. I'm definitely, I'm learning the hard way. Like I said, I rode out to Rembrandt's, had a big feed there. And then 45 minutes later, after I thought that I had a big feed, I'm hungry again. So my calories aren't that much different and my ratio isn't that much different from when I filmed the muscle building trainer. I'm pretty much using that calculator. However, a lot of the nutrition will be focused around a workout, such as on the weekends. I'm particular on the type of foods, nutrition that I'm taking in at particular times. So if I'm running, I don't want a lot of fluid sloshing around in my stomach. It becomes uncomfortable and I get a stitch. So I make sure that my nutrition is a thicker consistency. I may even eat if it doesn't require much chewing, because if I'm trying to breathe at the same time, I'm lacking in oxygen now. But generally, when I'm on the bike, I will eat more solid food, I kind of choose and chop in between like that. So, on the bike, I'll have more fluid nutrition. So I'll mix a thick shake with oats, blended with a couple of bananas blended. I'll have a protein, couple of scoops of recaged in there, blended, and I'll fill that up. And that's pretty thick. And I'll just sip on that. What I found, especially with hydration, instead of, like at these aid stations I'll have on the Ironman, people gulp down. Right. Well, I found since I've been running, especially on a hot day, if I take it like a couple of little bottles with me and just sip every 8 to 10 minutes, just a little sip, I stay a lot more hydrated, I perform better, and I don't feel like I've got anything sloshing around in my stomach. So I'm going to start practicing and training to take sips every 6 to 8 minutes now, I think.
Okay. That's a rock solid in-race strategy. Now, what about like in your life, though? You've been a very structured eating guy for a long time. I've heard you say on articles on our site, I haven't missed a meal in years. Is it hard for you to deal with a huge craving all of a sudden when you've been so structured about your eating? Is that new to you?
Well, I'm not really as strict on this diet now. Like I'm putting honey on everything. I've put in like loads of almond butter. So I'm not that strict now. I had a couple of bunny eggs yesterday. It was Easter.
How'd those taste?
Not to. It was pretty darn good post-ride, really good. So I'm not as strict as I once, normally in my programs, I'm very strict. It doesn't mean I'm that strict year-round. I always make sure that I get my meals in, but now, I love fruit. In video series like the 8-Week Trainer, there's no fruit in there, there's no sugar.
Right. Not much fat either in that one. Almond butter is not something I associate with you.
Never. And that goes back to a lot of, the top bodybuilders that I learned from, whether it be, Dorian Yates, Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, or just any top bodybuilder. You don't have fats in your diet. You know what I mean? It's definitely more of a new school way of thinking. It's a justification to get the hormonal production and feel good about yourself. But I don't like to diet over a long duration. I like to get it over and done with. I don't like dieting. So if I pull my fats out, I find that I can get in shape a lot quicker. And, I don't have the repercussions of a slow metabolism or, low testosterone levels or, my hormones going way off track because I diet over a very short period. So a lot of people think, oh, well, you should have fats. Your strength will go down. And, if you do that probably for 5 or 6 months, possibly. But right. Not over a short duration. But now I'm getting plenty of fats in. I had a pancake this morning with lots of seeds and nuts and fruits and yolks. It's great.
Nice. So how has this changed the way that you feel otherwise? Sleep, energy level, stuff like that?
Mentally, I'm knackered. Mentally, I'm shattered. It's funny because with weight training, we come out of the gym normally physically exhausted. So I will go out on like a run or a bike and think, well, this ain't bad. This is easy. I want to go on a century ride. I want to do one of those just to say I've done it. And then I'll get back after like 35 miles and feel like sleeping for hours. It just creeps up on you. It's a completely different exhaustion. So I have to think about that now. So I can't be as productive mentally during the day if like on a weekend, if I go and do one of those things, because it just creeps up on me. So it's definitely a physical exhaustion where I don't get that from bodybuilding at all.
Do you feel like your body has changed at all?
No,
at this point, you're only a month in, though, right?
No, it not yet in regards to fat loss, but muscle gain. I felt that when I was sinking in the water today, swimming. I'll justify it as muscle gain. That's how it is. But I honestly think that I'm putting on a bit of muscle now. I did take my weight training a little bit easy after the Olympia last year. I injured my shoulder training with Branch, of all people. And I thought it was something that I could fix because I've separated both my AC joints. I've torn my infraspinatus before. I thought this will be just another injury that I can fix. Wasn't able to fix this one. So I had to get a cortisol injection in it. I've never had one of them before, but it helped. So then I had that about 2 weeks before starting this Ironman training. So now I feel that I'm starting to go full bore. Like today was a real good, intense workout. So I can feel my muscle memory coming back now. I'm definitely putting on more muscle, but I'll say I'm going to purposely hold as much weight as possible during this process, and then probably about 4 weeks before the Ironman, then I will drop some weight. I'll drop fat then. I'll just pull my calories back slightly. I'm guessing my volume's probably going to go up by then. So by default, I'll get lean, and I'm hoping by dropping that 6 or 8 pounds in the last few weeks will make it so much easier on me when I actually go into the race. So I want to have that little bit of leverage towards the end to play with. I don't want to lose that lose that weight now, because then I've got nowhere to go. I've got no more tricks up my sleeve. Whereas that 6 to 8 pounds could make a big difference.
Sure. Now you got to build your engine now, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm, putting my weights vests on, and because like if I put like 70 pounds on waist vest, and I'll put 10 pounds on my arms, and I'll go for a run, for maybe 8 miles or 6 miles. Then I take that off for the last 2 miles. It feels like I'm a normal person out running. I feel like a teenager.
Okay.
Yeah, a drop set. I like that. Yeah, that's my drop set.
So besides muscle mass, are you tracking any other things? Like anything like VO2 max, lactate?
Yeah. So I had all that done in the first week in the lab. And then I'll check that again at the halfway point, probably at just before the half Ironman, and I'll check it at the end. I'm putting everything through my Garmin as well, so obviously checking my stroke rate, my pace, my cadence, and I'm using obviously on Strava now. I'm on Strava. I just came across that thing about 4 weeks ago. So that's good, because I'm following some other people that I know as well, such as Pritchard. And I think, I did well. I did 1,800 meter swim today. And then I look at Pritchard, 4,300 lunchtime swim. So then it's good, because surrounding myself with that and, reading the magazines and submerging myself in that, it becomes more normal to me. Because like I said, I thought those distances were only reserved for an automobile before. So the more that I read about it and be surrounded by it and hear it, the more normal I think it becomes. So I can wrap my head around it, because I was still struggling, for the last couple of weeks even, just to think, that's a long time. It's a long way. When I finish, 5-6 mile run, I think, God, that was tough. I've got to do that time 5,
After a
Yeah,
swim
after.
and 112-mile bike ride.
Yeah.
Now, bring it back to the weights workouts for a second. So there's a video series that's going to be on Bodybuilding.com. The program itself will be also published on Bodybuilding.com. Somebody could do the whole thing. They could do the whole enchilada right alongside you. They could also, in theory, just do these workouts because they enjoy your workouts.
Yeah.
How different are these workouts than what somebody would expect from you in the past?
It's very different, because I'm using my weight training to improve my efficiency for the swim, for the bike, for the run. So today I went and totally annihilated my delts and my triceps before swimming. So, and then I'd use the paddles when I'm swimming. So that's, it's really tough then on my delts and my triceps. So I am using a muscle building process, but the exercises may be a little bit different, because they are created specifically for the discipline that's about to follow, that I want to use as my pre-exhaust.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a pre-exhaust, and I've noticed that in the videos too. It seems like a really unique way to approach this style of training, use weight training as a pre-exhaust for the sport.
Yeah, exactly, because I don't have time to go and do 2-hour run. I don't have time to do 2 hours bike ride during the week. It just can't be done. So the thought process is to improve the efficiency with the pre-workout to the swim being my weights, and using that as a pre-fatigue set. And then when I get into the run or the swim, whatever, I use a lot of intensity and drills to further improve that efficiency.
I think that's interesting also, because the thing that kills runners and triathletes is just the sheer volume of their training. It kills their lifestyles, but also injuries, everything. It gets so big. This is a way of dialing it back. It's very interesting. Have you found some precedent for that, where people have said, all right, yeah, use the weights to pre-exhaust this and bring your total training volume down?
No, never, not really. But I think, in theory it should work, and I'm definitely
Guess you'll
feeling
find out.
it. Yeah, exactly. So, my triceps are absolutely killing me when I was doing my freestyle in the pool this morning. So I have to be better when I go in fresh. There's just no way around it. Tomorrow I've got legs, and it's going to be a very high volume leg session, and then I'm going to go and run straight after that and bike.
God.
So then I know that's going to be tough, but it's only going to make it so much easier on the day when I have to finish this thing.
It's got to make for some good watching too, right?
Yeah, for sure. But the workouts on this one are it's like 4 days a week weight training as opposed to my usual 5. But they're intense and they're hard. And, if somebody wants to just follow, like you said, the bodybuilding workouts, they can do that. They don't have to do the triathlon or Ironman part of it. However, it's there for the taking should they want. I encourage people to do so.
But they could also just watch and do neither of the programs.
I was like, that's what I will do.
What do you want somebody to take away from this experience as they watch it?
I want people to, take the ceilings off. A lot of people have low ceilings and, they look at things as impossibilities as opposed to opportunities. And maybe they don't want to do a triathlon, but like say they want to do the Boston Marathon. Well, there's a possibility. You're a bodybuilder. You can do that. And I'm going to kind of show you how to do it. It's going to be a lot of strategic moves in regards to your nutrition and your supplementation, specifically the timing. And when I've looked at a lot of triathletes' programs, their supplementation and their timing is atrocious. It's terrible. Like not once will you actually even see something about the supplements or fluid intake that you should have when you're swimming. We sweat a lot when we swim. We lose a lot, but you never read anything about that. So that's something that I'm definitely put into my arsenal because I feel so much better for it. And, immediately after my weights workout, I'm chugging my protein before I get into my cardio session because I don't want any muscle wastage, making sure that I got my BCAAs, my glutamine in. And a lot of people neglect that. So I think, just through that being purposely focusing on your supplementation, then with the intensity of your cardio sessions as if it's a weight training workout, but obviously you're going to be tapping into a different type of muscle fiber and energy system, you can recover from both.
Okay, so first video is going to come out on the 28th on bodybuilding.com, promo on the 24th, first video on the 20th. They're going to come out weekly for months.
6 months.
For 6 months afterwards.
6 month video training. Yeah, you guys are going to be sick of me.
Never.
How else can they follow you throughout this? I guess they could friend you on Strava or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
Strava, or follow me on my socials on Instagram or whatnot. I'm there. I'm a social whore. You can find me anywhere.
And you can find him right here, too. So thanks for coming and talking to us about this. It should be a fascinating little adventure.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure. It's all mine.
We'll have you back in at some point. We got to see how this wraps up.
At least after the first half.
Yeah, after the half, I think that'd be a good point.
Yeah, then I'll tell you if I'm definitely going for the full.
Then we'll wheel you in here on a journey at that point.
Yeah, maybe give me a couple of weeks.
All right, Kris Gethin, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.